The government-backed mortgage agencies known as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac received the biggest bailouts of the financial crisis, about $169 billion. But over the past 2 years, agency executives took home some $35 million in bonuses. It's the kind of news that sparks outrage on Capitol Hill, even among the richest members of Congress.
I exactly remember the year I made over $1 million. I'm sure you do. What year did you first have compensation, including bonus, that put you over $1 million?
Congressman, I'm not sure what year that was.
So money's not that important to you?
No, money is important to all of us who are here today, sir.
Now, Congressman Michael Williams, we'll just tell our audience, is, of course, the head of Fannie Mae, correct?
Yes,
yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And he's been there over 20 years, coming up through the ranks during all the mistakes that agency made.
Right. Now, let me talk to you a little bit. I mean, he seemed to have gotten under your skin in some way, shape, or form. Is it because he was there during the disaster that you think he shouldn't be getting any bonuses, just a part of his bonuses? I mean, he's meeting some kind of standard in order to get those bonuses.
Well, Candy, that's exactly the problem. We read the so-called standard. It would not pass a sniff test at an ordinary corporation's compensation committee, and the audit committee and PricewaterhouseCoopers or any of the other organizations that normally oversee them would say they didn't have a standard you could be held to. They had 2 pages of sort of feel-good what they would accomplish rather than measurable results that would justify anything close to the nearly $5 million a year he received. And remember, this is somebody who does not have some special skill other than the skill of coming up through the ranks of an organization that for the most part has been failing us for most of that 20 years.
But getting someone with special skills, and I don't want to accept your premise that he has no special skills, but the argument about this is if you want to get someone from the private sector to do this job, they are now making so much more money than even the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac execs are making, that you can't get them, that this is basically a deal we're getting.
Well, the studies show that in the case of CEOs of comparable large financial institutions, including bonuses, they were relatively similar. But again, Mr. Williams was paid $115,000 when he signed up. There was no reason to have an expectation he'd make $5 million. And at a time in which they're taking $13 billion just this quarter in new, not borrowed, but given money by the taxpayers to make up for permanent defaults. You know, this is an organization that over the last decade on a net basis made no money. This is an organization that all the way back with Franklin Raines more than 10 years ago had serious accounting practices that had caused large bonuses to be paid when in fact they really weren't making money. More importantly, and Candy, this is sort of says it very well. When we looked at studies, for example, of chief counsels, general counsels, we found in Southern California that you would make about $400,000. As a lawyer, being paid just a salary and bonus of about $400,000 was in fact acceptable for public and private companies. They paid theirs approximately $2 million. So it wasn't just the CEO. It basically, when you're using other people's money, tens and hundreds of billions of dollars, you can also afford to be very loose with these bonuses, far greater than were justified on performance.
Let me ask you, while we are on the subject of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, it's now been revealed that presidential candidate Newt Gingrich, of course, former Speaker of the House, made between $1.6 and $1.8 million from Freddie Mac, advising them. There's some question as to what he actually did. Has anything you heard so far make you think that it's a disqualifier for Newt Gingrich running for president?
Well, certainly when you look at organizations that spent $170 million in lobbying during that period and regularly would do these technically non-lobbying expenditures in order to curry favor, you've got organizations that I question what they were trying to get for it. In the case of Speaker Gingrich, he had left office. He had no specific power. Certainly, it appears to be very high compensation for very little work, but I think we have to get back to the point. This is an organization that showered huge amounts of money on people, often with less connection and less experience than Speaker Gingrich.